Prayer is entering into the presence. And the reason that you say Allahu Akbar is you are pushing this world away from you and putting it behind you, and you are entering into a state of presence with your Lord. You begin, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Praise be to the Lord of the worlds, the merciful, the compassionate. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin, the sovereign of the day of judgment, or the master of the day of judgment. And then you speak directly. This is in Arabic called iltifat, where you move from a third person tense, what they call khitab al-ghaib, to khitab al-hadir, where you move from speaking to somebody who's absent to speaking to somebody who's present. Iyaka na'budu, to you alone we worship. Iyaka nasta'in, to you alone we seek help. This is what the Fatiha is. It's to enter into the presence of your Lord. It's not just to go through these motions, this perfunctory act that you have to do 5 times a day. That this is about coming to intimate discourse with your Lord. And then you speak to your Prophet directly. Assalamu alayka ayyuhan nabi. Peace be upon you. That's not salamu alayhi, assalamu alayka, because you understand that there is a spiritual presence. The Prophet ﷺ said, تُعْرَضُ عَلَيَّ أَعْمَالُكُمْ. I see your actions. This is a sahih hadith in Al-Bazar. I see your actions in the grave. فَإِذَا وَجَدْتُ خَيْرًا حَمِدْتُ اللَّهِ وَإِذَا وَجَدْتُ شَرًّا أَسْتَغْفَرْتُ لَكُمْ. If I see good, I praise God, that these are my people, that I taught them to do good and they're doing good. And if I see you doing wrong, I ask forgiveness. He doesn't curse us. He doesn't say, why aren't they doing good? He asks forgiveness for us. The beginner's mind is a wonderful mind, they say, because the beginner is always present, because they're so worried about getting it right. If you watch a beginner driver, I love when I drive by these schools, you know, these driving schools. I love watching these people learning how to drive. They're usually about 16, and they're in there, and they're so present because they have the beginner's mind. You see, after a while, they like everybody else, they're falling asleep at the wheel, right? They go from one place to another and they don't know how they got there. But they've done that trip so many times because they're asleep at the wheel. The lights are on, but nobody's home. This is most people. We're somnambulant. We're sleepwalking through life. We're not present. We're not present in our meetings when we meet each other. We go through the motions, we shake the hands, we don't really hear the names. When I lived with the Bedouin in Mauritania, one of the things that really floored me about some of the Salihin amongst them, one lady, and a very dear lady to me, she was the wife of my teacher and she died a few years ago, Maryam bint Boueba. And I wrote a piece about her called Another Mother of the Believers. Maryam asked me when I first arrived there in 1984, she asked me if I had family, and I said, yeah, and she said, what are their names? And I said, well, I've got, my mother's name is Elizabeth, and my father's name is David, and my brother's name, I have 2 brothers, one's name is John, and the other's Troy, and then I have 4 sisters. I have Kathleen, Patricia, Elizabeth, who's now called Nabila, and Mariah. And I didn't think anything of it. After I left that period, there were 10 years before I went back. When I first saw Maryam, after 10 years, she said to me, Kaifa David? Kaifa Elizabeth? Kaifa John? Kaifa Troy? Kaifa Mariah, Patricia, and she named all of my family. And it was such a dagger to the heart because I realized she wasn't just asking to chat. She wanted to know their names. And she internalized their names. And 10 years later, she could recall names that she'd never heard in her life because they're not Arabic names and she only knew Arabic. And I was just so stunned. But She was a present human being. She did dhikr all the time. That was her life. She spent her life serving the students of that place. She knew every name of every student that ever came to that. And Aisha met her and remembers her. You know, she was present. And this was from practice. This was from just the monotony of every day working on your presence with God. Because when you're present with God, you're present with the creation of God. You start noticing things like the wind in the trees. You start noticing the subtleties of everything that's around us. It becomes real.